In this video I'll have a look at the Thracian Peltasts. And the Thracian Peltasts come in two different varieties. They come in the mercenary variety and they come in the standard variety that is only available to the Odrysian Kingdom. The difference between these two units is, and I think this is a glitch by another or a bug on CA side, because if you notice, these Thracian Peltasts are very heavy missile infantry, while the mercenary Thracian Peltasts are only very light missile infantry. So in a straight up fight between infantry units, that doesn't make a huge amount of difference, or at least in a straight up fight between the Thracian Peltasts, they do about the same damage in melee. The difference in charges is not massive. But when these units are charged by cavalry, the difference in mass means that a unit of citizen cavalry is going to be able to defeat the mercenary variety of the unit, while the citizen cavalry is going to be defeated by the Thracian Peltasts. So if your opponent is trying to send in some light melee cavalry or just some citizen cavalry to take care of your Thracian Peltasts, they won't be able to do it. If they do it against your mercenary Thracian Peltasts, they will be able to do it. And something that's pretty decent about these guys is that their melee stats are good. They have 28 melee attack, they have 35 weapon damage, 12 charge bonus, which isn't great, melee defense of 40, which is okay, armor of 30, which is a bit on the low side, a health of 55 and a base morale of 45. So those values are nice for being skirmishers. But the main selling point of these units is their extreme effectiveness against armor. So they have the elite javelins with 41 missile damage and 12 armor penetration. That's going to really destroy heavily armored units. Against elephants and chariots, they are also amazing. But one thing that really sets them apart is that their weapon damage in melee is high for a skirmish unit, but 10 of that is armor piercing. So these guys have more armor piercing than your axemen, for example, while having 7 of the 12 armor penetration javelins. And you can see what that does to this Oathsworn unit here, while I'm just firing at it with a single unit of Thracian Peltasts. The Oathsworn unit, being fired at from the side and from the rear, is going to take massive casualties. And I'm just going to continue to kite it here. And this is just from this is just from the ammo of a single unit. So when these guys are out of ammunition, they can charge in and actually do some damage. So now they have destroyed half the Oathsworn unit with missiles. I'm just going to use them to charge in and try to finish off the rest of the Oathsworn unit. I probably won't be able to do that with just this one unit, but we'll try anyway. Just see how many kills they can get in melee. Just kite the Oathsworn unit a bit closer to my other unit here. So the Oathsworn are getting charged using headhunt, and you can see the kills on the Thracian Peltasts are continuing to increase quite nicely, and the Oathsworn are winning. But now that they're exhausted because they used headhunt, they should be able to defeat this unit of Thracian Peltasts. But as you can see, it's very, very, very close here, and the army loses. So the Oathsworn shattered because I had more units left on the battlefield than the Oathsworn. So they would probably be able to do this if I didn't have the numbers advantage that I have. But just a short preview of just how effective those guys can be against enemy units. If they're able to use their ammunition and then charge in, they can do amazing stuff to elite enemy units because of their high armor penetration on both javelins and in melee. One of their other selling points is that they are extremely good against elephants, chariots and cavalry. Their missiles are, because they have 41 missile damage, and then they also have a bonus against large. That means that these guys are going to do extreme amounts of damage to any mounted or large units. So let's just see how they do against the elephants here. I'm going to send them out, just give attack orders on one unit. Keep the other one on the flank to hopefully be able to get some volleys off. Elephants instantly run amok, starting to die. And this one unit actually held against the elephant charge because the elephants ran amok. 2 units is enough to defeat enemy elephants that quickly. So very, very effective units. Now, just the last test I'll just showcase is going to be against chariots, and against chariots things are a lot more complicated. Missiles don't hit the way they should against chariots. They seem to be aiming for a single chariot or possibly the center of the unit, but if the chariots are spread out, you really have no you have no way of knowing if your missiles are going to hit or miss, except if you press space and look at where the attack orders are heading on the unit. So that can be pretty annoying, pretty frustrating. So we'll just put our skirmishers here, have fire at will on, and when chariots are moving like this in a sorted formation, they should be able to get some hits against the chariots. So already destroying a chariot, the chariots are going to be able to make it into the Peltasts. Make it straight through. But I'll just continue to fire on the chariots. So the chariots got stopped, and there you could see just how quickly they were destroyed when they actually hit. But standing and fire against chariots isn't really going to work. The chariots are going to wreck you regardless. But if these guys were behind, for example, mercenary veteran Hoplites or mercenary Hoplites, then the chariots would go down extremely quickly. So Thracian Peltasts, make them use all of their 41 missile damage javelins against large units and high value enemy targets, charge them into melee and watch them continue to dominate, or at least get a pretty amazing amount of kills. These units are amazing, close to being overpowered, but just keep in mind that, because I made this mistake in a few battles, because I had mainly seen how the mercenary Thracian Peltasts do against cavalry, and that is not very well. I was afraid to use the Thracian Peltasts when engaging enemy cavalry and try to run away with them and such, but it's actually better to stand and fight at least against medium cavalry units with the Thracian Peltasts. Against heavier cavalry units they will lose badly, of course, but the Thracian Peltasts can do very well against heavy infantry, and don't be afraid to rush these guys in. Of course, go for flanking and rear charges if you can, but don't be afraid to rush these guys in when they've spent their missiles. They are amazing melee units for their price, and when you consider that they also have the 41 missile damage and 8 shots per minute, they are just one of the best javelin units in the game. Thanks for watching, see you again on the battlefield.